7 Western hygiene habits that drive Japanese people crazy. Picture this. You step into a crowded public restroom, casually setting your handbag down on the damp tiled floor. An hour later, at an upscale restaurant, you nonchalantly toss that exact same bag onto the dining table, right next to a hot plate of food. To Westerners, it is just a convenient habit. But to a Japanese person watching, it is a full-on horror movie starring bacteria playing out right in front of them. I am not saying this to judge. As someone who grew up walking the line between two worlds, I have had my fair share of hilarious mishaps. I once stood frozen in the living room of a European apartment with my shoes still on, convinced I had just committed a major crime. And I have also watched an international friend stare at my family's bathroom in Nagoya with total, unadulterated panic. I have felt that culture shock from both sides. Japanese people are not irrationally obsessive about cleanliness. Their reactions all stem from an invisible line deeply etched into their minds from childhood. Uchi inside and outside. Soto is the outside world, a realm of dirt, germs, and public chaos. Uchi is the home, the dinner table, the bed, an absolute sanctuary of safety and cleanliness. Japanese cleanliness is not about constant scrubbing. It is the art of guarding this boundary. Today, we are unpacking the 7 Western habits that baffle Japanese people the most, to see how behind these minor friction points lies a truly subtle philosophy of life. 1. Bringing the entire street into bed. This first habit is probably the scene that makes almost every Japanese viewer hold their breath when watching Western movies. Walking through the front door, running straight into the living room with shoes on, jumping onto the couch, and sometimes lounging on the bed with shoes still strapped to their feet. I still vividly remember visiting a friend's house abroad for the first time. The second I stepped through the door, I froze. My whole body tensed up, waiting for that familiar space, the spot where you take your shoes off. But nope, nothing. My friend and their family just strolled right inside, and I awkwardly followed, feeling an eerie heaviness in my gut. Like I was actively helping invite a mountain of street dirt right into the living space. Why are Japanese people so sensitive about this? Because in Japanese thinking, the floor is a piece of furniture. People sit directly on the floor, toddlers crawl on it, and at night many families lay futons right on the floor to sleep. So the floor must be kept every bit as clean as the dining table. That is why every house in Japan has a sunken entryway called a genkan. A genkan is not just a shoe rack, it is an architectural border. Shoes belong on the lower floor below the outside world. The actual home only begins at the step above. The shoes that have walked through train stations, public restrooms, crowded streets, everything they have touched must come to a dead stop at the genkan. If you already have the habit of taking your shoes off before coming inside, trust me, your Japanese friends will appreciate and respect you for it far more than you realize. 2. Marinating in germs all day, then crawling into bed. This second habit is even more shocking than the first. Showering in the morning and climbing straight into bed at night without washing up at all. I remember back when I was an exchange student staying with a host family in the West. On my first night, I sat in the living room craning my neck, waiting for the host family to say, "Time for a bath," but I waited and waited, dead silence. Everyone just wished each other good night and vanished behind their bedroom doors. The next morning, I finally heard the shower blasting. That night, lying on my host family's clean sheets, my skin crawled with an indefinable itch. I kept thinking about everything my body had collected throughout the entire day. Because from the Japanese perspective, a day lived is a day your body embraces the entire outside world. Fine dust from the street, sweat, bacteria clinging to subway handrails, public seats, elevator buttons. If you climb into bed like that, you are forcing all that grime deep into your blankets and pillows, then marinating in that stew of bacteria for 8 full hours, night after night. To Japanese people, the bed is one of the most private, pristine spaces in the home, Uchi. So you have to wash away the dirt of the outside world, Soto, before touching it. Not to mention, soaking in warm water at night relaxes the body and makes falling asleep so much easier. I totally get the appeal of morning showers. It wakes you up and gets you energized for the day. But if you want to turn your bed into a true sanctuary of peace, try a quick warm rinse at night. I guarantee you will sleep significantly deeper. 3. Making soup with your own dirt. This third habit baffled me for years. In many Western households, the bath routine is pretty familiar. Fill the tub with water, step in, soap up, lather your hair, and then keep soaking in that very same water mixed with suds and grime until you are done. A Japanese friend of mine once summed up this habit with a slightly graphic but brutally accurate metaphor. It is like washing your dishes in a bowl of soup. In Japan, this order is completely flipped. The bathtub is not a place for scrubbing off dirt. It is a place for relaxation and recovery. Before stepping foot into the tub, you sit on a small stool outside, use the hand shower to soap up, wash your hair, and rinse every single trace of suds off your body. Only when you are sparkling clean do you gently step into the soaking tub. That way, the water stays perfectly pristine from start to finish. The reason behind this routine comes from a very distinct cultural trait. In Japanese families, as well as in public bathhouses, sento, or hot springs, onsen, one tub of hot water is often shared by multiple people in turn. Keeping the bath water clean is not just personal hygiene. It is courtesy and kindness toward the next person in line. Once you have experienced sinking into pure, warm water without a speck of soap or the day's grime, you will understand why Japanese people defend this rule so fiercely. 4. Stashing a pathogen in your breast pocket. This fourth habit is so subtle it usually hides behind acts of utmost politeness. In many Western countries, people carry a cloth handkerchief. When they need to blow their nose, they pull out the handkerchief, finish up, fold it neatly, and gently slide it back into their pocket to use again later. I once sat across from an elderly gentleman on a train in Europe. He pulled out a gorgeous, pristine white handkerchief, blew his nose with absolute elegance, carefully folded it back into a perfect square, and slipped it into his jacket breast pocket, right over his heart. He leaned back in his seat with a look of complete tranquility. Me? I sat there paralyzed for the rest of the ride. Because through Japanese eyes, that act is no different than manually harvesting bacteria, putting it in your pocket, carrying that pathogen everywhere you go, and pulling it back out to greet it every couple of hours. Truth is, Japanese people carry handkerchiefs, hankachi, every day too. But a Japanese handkerchief has one single job: drying your freshly washed hands. Because many public restrooms in Japan do not have hand dryers or paper towels. As for blowing your nose, Japanese people strictly use disposable tissues. Once used, that tissue goes straight into the trash can immediately, no lingering for even a second. To be fair, the Western habit of using cloth handkerchiefs comes from thriftiness, eco-friendliness, and classic elegance, great intentions. It is just that the handkerchief's resting spot, the pocket, sets off major hygiene alarms for Japanese people. 5. The dining table battle, loud blowing versus constant sniffling. This fifth habit takes place in the most sensitive spot, the dinner table. In many Western countries, if your nose is stuffed or runny while eating, the natural reaction is to pull out a tissue and give it a loud, decisive blow right then and there, no matter who is around to them. It is better to clear it out cleanly once and for all than to sit there clearing your throat or sniffling continuously. But if that happens at a restaurant in Japan, the whole room might freeze and awkward glances will instantly lock onto you. To Japanese people, blowing your nose near others, especially right next to a plate of food, is considered extremely off-putting. So Japanese people choose to endure. They inhale, sniffle, keep their noses from leaking, and only when they cannot take it anymore will they quietly excuse themselves to the restroom to handle it in private. Here is the funniest part. This battle goes both ways. My Western friends have confessed to me that the constant sniffling of Japanese people at the dinner table drives them insane. In Western eyes, sitting there inhaling and sniffling through an entire meal sounds disgusting, whereas one quick blow is clean and straightforward. I had a good laugh when I realized that. Both sides are trying so hard to be polite, yet taking completely opposite roads to get there. A simple bridge between these two worlds. If your nose acts up at the table, politely step away for a quick minute in private. Your Japanese dining partner will breathe a sigh of relief. Your Western friends will be happy, and you get to return to your meal in total comfort. 6. The smart toilet and the journey of the handbag. These final two habits are the perfect twin capstones to this picture of hygiene boundaries. First up, restroom habits. In most Western countries, your sole weapon after using the toilet is dry paper. To Japanese people, using dry paper alone feels, well, incomplete. Think about it. If you get dirt on your hands, do you wipe it off with a dry paper towel and call it a day? Or do you find a faucet to wash them clean? The answer is obvious. That is why almost every Japanese home features a washlet smart toilet. With the press of a button, a gentle stream of warm water cleans you completely before you even touch a piece of paper. An international friend visited me in Nagoya and stayed at my place for a week. On the first day, he looked at the control panel, flashing buttons like a spaceship cockpit, completely drained of color. He whispered to me, "Is this machine gonna go crazy and hurt me?" By day 7, right before heading to the airport, the first thing he asked me was, "Hey, where can I buy one of these toilet seats to carry back home?" Once you are used to the soothing cleanliness of warm water, it is hard to go back. 7. Habit number 7, which brings us back to where we started, the journey of the handbag. In the West, people casually toss their handbags or backpacks onto the floor, subway floors, cafe floors, and sometimes public restroom floors. Then an hour later, that same bag sits proudly on top of the dining table, right next to a salad, or rests on the pillow you will lay your face on tonight. To a Japanese person, the bottom of that bag is a mobile petri dish. That is why in Japan, every restaurant, whether budget or high-end, provides a small basket under the table for your bag. Under-table hooks are everywhere, and on crowded trains, you will always see Japanese people clutching their bags tightly in their laps instead of setting them down. A tiny tweak that costs nothing. Give your bag its own seat. Do not let it cross the line between the outside world and your dining table. The Omoiyari philosophy. Kindness for the next person. Looking back at all 7 habits, do you see the invisible thread tying them all together? It is not about which country is cleaner or who is more obsessed with hygiene. Both worlds are just offering different solutions to the same human question. How do we live side by side without passing dirt and germs to one another? Look at that boundary again. Shoes stop at the doorway so the floor stays clean for whoever sits down. The body is washed outside the tub so the bath stays crystal clear for the next person soaking. Tissues go straight into the trash so the germs stop with you. The handbag is tucked into a basket so the table stays safe for everyone sharing the meal. Japanese people call the spirit behind these actions Omoiyari, empathy, thoughtfulness, and always considering others. Japanese hygiene is not an obsessive personal fixation. It is the quiet practice of kindness for the person who comes next. You do not need to overhaul all 7 habits overnight. Nobody expects you to. Just pick one small thing. Tonight, try a warm rinse before getting under the covers. Or tomorrow, give your bag its own chair instead of dropping it on the floor. It is a small gesture, and maybe no one will speak up to thank you. But thanks to that little boundary you maintain, the people you care about will live safer and cleaner, and that is the best part. Out of these 7 habits, which one surprised you the most? Or is there one you used to do without thinking twice? Drop a comment below. Let us talk about it.